Well, it's Monday, and it's a little late getting started because there was an update that I couldn't defer. There are two other updates that I could defer, and I did, but this one just decided, well, I'm going to take over your computer and update, and so that just ground on and on and on. And then at the end it said, I'm going to restart your computer because, that's the update thing. And so it did. And things had to restart, and then it took a while, and anyway, more excuses, but here it is, Relaxing Painting with Dyson Dungeons, Monday edition. Oh, the music is working. That's actually really kind of a shock, because that hasn't been lately. And I'm still doing submarines. The submarines will end eventually, though, because the rosin printer has been working really hard, and there are what look to be dozens of prairie dogs. And I'm not sure what the intent is. I haven't been informed. All I know is that I went over into the room where the rosin printer was, and there was a whole container full of little prairie dogs and a dozen larger prairie dogs. I'm guessing they're prairie dogs. That's what they look like. So either those are going to be like given away as Christmas gifts to somebody unpainted. One can only hope. Or I'm going to be somehow painting lots of little prairie dogs. I'm guessing that they're all going to be painted the same, so it'll be like a production line thing, almost like painting dungeon tiles, except little prairie dogs. Anyway, later on today, I'm hoping to get the story about what that's all about. But in the meantime, there's still a lot of submarine work to do, and so I'm going to pick up where I left off on Friday, which is working on the bits for the reactor room and the bulkhead that goes between the two the two machine rooms. So I've got a second coats of red going on a lot of these pieces, and then I have to figure out, painting this bit red, 2 coats of that at least. Second coat of green on this, some little touching up with red that I need to remember to do on the fire extinguishers when I've got the red paint out, which is, when I should paint the red touch up, I should do that when I've got the red paint out anyway. So I will do that. And then I've got the reactor core, and I figured out how I want to do that in terms of different colors and such. So I'll be working on that. And then the heat exchanger, where I figured out how I'm going to make the coils, but I'm still experimenting with the inner part, which is where the water gets like superheated hot. Anyway, the first coat of red looks pretty scabby, so that's definitely getting second coated. I did over the weekend figure out a way to do a second coat on the missile tubes, the yellow missile tubes, which I very carefully spray painted yellow, and then when I looked at them under the light last Friday, I guess, it was very clear that they were not uniformly painted at all. And so, they're going to require, each individual missile tube is going to require individual attention so that I can spray just the parts that are not covered very well and not overcoat the parts that are. Hopefully that will all even out nicely. But it's going to be really tedious. I need to set up, I don't know, maybe I can use the spray box down here. We have a box that's set up to do priming with a nice light in it. No, I can't. No, that's set up for acrylic paints, and this is like a spray can, so it's got poison and highly flammable propellant in it. And there's a furnace nearby, and that's not good. So I'm going to have to, anyway, eventually I'll get around to it. I've been it's just going to be a pain. I just will say that, to do each one separately. I have to set up some lights and a backdrop so I can see against it, cover up a whole vertical space so that when I'm spraying, I'm going to spray vertically, not down like I have with some of the priming that I do. So that's going to have to happen. But that doesn't look like very much here. Okay, I mean, these are the bits I'm working on, and it doesn't look like very much, but it will take some time because there's multiple coats. And I also need to do some testing of some alternatives for the superheated water in the heat exchanger. And I'm going to do that first. Yes, I'm going to do that first because I'm going to be painting some metallic color on these parts. Okay, like this here, like the sample sheet. This sort of silvery color with what is the speed paint overwash to make it look like glowy hot. And then a white pearlescent paint dry brush on the reactor core bits itself to make them look like they're glowing almost white hot. And I'll be using these on the coils of the heat exchanger, but I've been trying to figure out how to do the water. I've got the pearlescent paint on the silver background, and that looks kind of watery, but it's not steamy. So I'm going to try two things here. One is I painted some white background, and I'm going to do some stippling of this blue on it to see how that looks, to see how it looks on the white as opposed to the silver. Yeah, so try that, and then I'm going to get the white out and do some over painting with here with the pearlescent on the yellow to make it look super heated. White hot. I'm going to try the same thing on here and here to see if I can get an effect of steam. If I were an artist, I would know what to do, but I'm not, so I don't. Here, that made a mess. I'm doing some, I'm not an artist, I don't know what I'm doing kind of things here. Too bad, that's kind of interesting. So I'm just using this pearlescent paint on the white background, and if I could replicate that kind of looks okay. That looks kind of steamy. I might try that. I'm using the pearlescent paints to give it just kind of a superheated, glowy look. But I think for this, I'm just going to get the bone white out. Like I said, I really don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just trying to get some effect of superheated boiling water instead of, because this is a cutaway of the heat exchanger, and these are the tubes that come from the reactor that carry really, really high pressure superheated water, and which exchanges into the contents here. and the painting instructions just say paint this red, but the water is not red, and this is a cutaway, so that's the water inside. So anyway, yeah, trying to come up with something to make it look like that. I don't know if I'll succeed or not, but I'll give it a go. There's a very, very white, very flat white. It's this color. I just want a dot of it. And what I'm going to try to do with this is try brush steaminess on this sample. It's bad. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's not real bad. I think this is the one that, either that or this. I don't like it on the silver. I mean, it just, there's no reason for it to be silvery. But the white and then the blue and then the white over it, I think that's what I'm going to do. I think that's the sequence I'm going to use. So, having decided something, yeah, I'm going to now I'm going to put up the second coat of red on these things, because I may end up needing a third coat, and that will it has to dry first before putting a third coat on, right? Obviously. And then this is going to take a couple coats, so this red paint is going to be coming in and out quite a lot here. Now I'm trying to think of, on Friday I was trying to think of things to ramble on about. And I was kind of rambling on about how in the 50s and 60s, like every TV show was a Western, and started to name them, and there were just a lot of them, right? Well, then in the 60s, got some coffee here. Don't, fall over and doze off or something. So in the 60s, another genre, it's fun, this genre, they kind of like French, right? Good anyway. Okay, take these off. I'm not quite ready for head magnifiers yet, but probably pretty soon. When I do the touch-up on the fire extinguishers, I'll do the head magnifiers. But first, using this large brush, to get more paint on and less brush marks. Anyway, that's the effort. Well, yeah, I'm just gonna put paint on stuff here. Well, there we go. Now we've got wet painted piece of something that fell on the floor. Get the paint before. Yeah, I got all these fingerprints on it and whatever came up from the floor, right? Lovely. Lovely start to Monday. Well, I'm just going to pay attention to painting failures here for just a couple of minutes before I start talking about the development of television in the 60s. This might need another coat, depending on how it looks when it dries, right? This is the pipe that carries. I keep saying this because it's just amazing how the entire submarine, everything submarine is driven by the superheated water or steam, high pressure superheated steam that is carried in that pipe. That's it. Everything runs off of that pipe. Well, this really covered very poorly. Kind of shockingly bad. You know, building up layers on this isn't all necessarily bad. It's something I'd prefer not to have happen, but in order to get the color uniform and, you know, looking like I want it to look, if it takes many coats, well, it just takes many coats. So, well, yeah, that's better than it was before. And then I've got this thing. This is the heat exchanger. I'll paint the big parts first. I can tell that it's just not covering very well still. I'm going to get a slightly smaller brush out. What I discovered last time, after I painted this, is that there's a the inside of the top here didn't ever get any paint on it at all. And this brush is too big to reach in. This brush, you can see it all the inside there. That's actually going to show. That's going to show when it's put together. And so it needs to be painted red. Looks like I'm going to be spending like almost all day here today just applying red paint to stuff, you know? It's starting to give that kind of impression. Yeah, it's still not very even, but it's getting better. Okay, I'm going to clean these before moving on. I knocked something onto the floor. I don't know what that was. Not important. Hi, Leuven. Thanks for joining in. Continuing on the submarine saga. Although the rosin printer has been working furiously the last few days, creating what looks to be about 3 or 4 dozen prairie dogs. Prairie dog minis. I don't know. I mean, I could see doing a couple because we haven't done prairie dogs, but so many, I'm not sure what that's about. Although, you know, prairie dogs do live in big colonies, maybe that's happening. So I'm just guessing. I'm not sure what the intent is for these, but I'm guessing that there's going to be like a prairie dog assembly line painting. I don't know why they would all be painted differently. So, you know, other than the variation you get with, these are hand painted, so no two are alike kind of variation that comes with being hand painted by this very hand. Yeah. Okay, I need to put my head magnifiers on just for a bit here, because there's some fire extinguishers on this need what amounts to minuscule dots of paint. Okay. Where the green paint, when I painted a green, climbed up a little bit too high. Do on this one, this side, a little more challenging. Just a longer line of it, and whenever okay, this is the leave well enough alone moment. actually refrained when I reached the leave well enough alone moment to just leave it alone. And it's kind of a surprise, actually. Okay, that's well enough as well. Yeah, so those were done. I probably, if I'd known they were there yesterday, I probably could have primed them. Well, two things. I needed to know that they were there, which I didn't, because I didn't go down and look in the rosin printing room. These new things were getting printed. And I was lazy and I didn't ask. And so, the opportunity to ask about, and what is this all about? What's all this then? Meaning, what's all this about the dozens of little prairie dogs? So I didn't ask about it, and so I didn't prime them because, I didn't know. I wasn't prepared. So now there's dozens of little prairie dogs, and instead of that was the intent, maybe spending some time today doing a prairie dog painting assembly line. What else to call it? Well, instead of doing that, I'm working still on the submarine stuff. Putting multiple coats of red paint on these. The second coat is definitely improvement over the first. There'll need to be a third coat. I think I'm going to paint the... So with this, just to let you know, here, this is the reactor core. These side bits here and here are already painted. They're painted a neutral gray. Can't really tell that. It's really close to the primer color. And that's the lead shielding. Okay. And then I'm going to paint this area around it black for contrast mainly. And then this whole central area here gets painted aluminium, which is a silvery, just silver, basically. Okay. And then the inlet pipe and the outlet pipe, those are painted. The bottom is the cool water coming back. And that's painted silver with an orange wash, and on the top is the outlet, which is painted with a yellow. And these are the reactor bits. These are all going to be painted yellow over the silver. And then there's a white pearlescent dry brush that will go on these raised bits, which are the fissioning uranium. Okay, it's a fissioning uranium that is glowing like white hot. So I'm going to paint the silver part first. Okay, let that dry. That dries pretty quickly, and then I'm going to paint the black contrast color all around it. Very carefully doing that so that the edges are nice. And then probably do the third coat of red after that. Yeah. I might paint the black after the red, because the black comes right up to the edge. Right up to the edge of the containment vessel. There'll be some back and forth touch-up, I guess. See how this red is looking. Yeah, it really does need yet another coat. Risking paint buildup. When I put that next coat on, I'm also going to say that this pipe is done. Because this bit here, that now has sticky tack all over it, yay. This all has to be painted red, and that's going to be painted red at least 2 coats, maybe 3. There was just no way, this piece, there was no place to grab it because everything everything shows, including, I was thinking maybe of putting a pin in here, but this is the cutaway pipe, and that actually has to be painted red inside. So I don't know, I'm just going to hold it like this and then set it like that to dry. Let's see, what was the sequence again? I like to paint up to, I was going to paint the silver on here. And while I'm doing that, I might as well paint it on the coils as well. What did I decide? Yeah, I was going to do this. This is the base coat here is just going to be white. Then I'm going to paint the silver first and then paint the white background. That'll probably take 2 coats because the white doesn't cover very well. And then I'm going to do the 3rd coat of the red paint because I want a nice edge here. See, like where the red comes just slightly over. That's the containment vessel edge, the cutaway. And I'm going to try to get the same sort of edge on this side. So that's how when I did this back in like 7th grade or something, I just painted the whole thing red, you know, probably just 1 coat of Tester's red gloss enamel because that's, you know, what I had. Maybe I had flat red. They had both gloss and flats. The flats were actually kind of hard to come by then. Almost all of them were the gloss colors. At least that's what I recall. I was thinking of using the chainmail silver, which is a little easier to control, but I don't want to lose any of this detail here. And so I'm going to use the metallic color, the metal color, which flows more easily, a little bit harder to control, but oh my. There's a spot down under there that's going to have to be painted. I guess I'll try to do that. It needs to be painted black there's a pipe up here for some reason. I don't know. So this is what I'm doing for the steamy on the inside, is I'm putting a white down rather than the metallic, and then a blue, and then white again. And I want it to look kind of like this one, kind of like that. And see how that goes. My lack of skill, we'll see how my lack of skill turns out there. Yeah, so as this progresses, the multi-layers, there's many layers to this. It'll take, you know, little bits of time because one layer has to dry before the next one. So who knows, I'll ramble on about something. I did think about something to ramble on about, so I'll probably do that. Yeah, a little bit later in the stream. When it's time to ramble because of, you know, stuff. Yeah, I got it on the gray. There's a really nice dividing line there, which I managed to violate. So I have to get the neutral gray back out again. Do necessary touch up there. You know, this is the kind of thing where, you know, the detail is just not going to even be visible when this thing is put together, but give it a go. Try to make it look as like reactory as possible. I want it to look kind of menacing, you know. Cutaway nuclear fission submarine reactor thing. Got to look somewhat menacing. Music playing? Yeah, that's good. I'm glad the music is playing, because until I start rambling about this thing I was going to ramble about, which isn't going to take that much time, you know, you have to have something in the background there. So there's the reactor core base coat 1. Well, I squeezed out way too much paint. And then this is the base coat for the heat exchanger. Oh yeah, I'm going to use the speed paints on these. I'm going to have to be cautious about that, because the speed paints, well, what I mean is I can't get any of the speed paint down onto the base here where the water is going to be. And the reason for that is that the speed paints dissolve in other paint. Okay. So if I get it down there, I'm going to have to be careful just to touch the surface of these pipes, because if I get it down on the base and I try to paint it white, the speed paint will dissolve into the white, and then it'll turn orange or yellow. It'll be messy. But there isn't I don't have an alternative to that. I don't have any other kind of wash. I'm not too worried about the silver. The white, you know, the second or third or fourth coat, however many it takes to get the white on. That'll be fine. That'll cover. The side where oh my, there was still some wet paint there. I would need to be cautious not to get that everywhere. Okay, we'll put that back there. Take a look at this. Yeah, this is going to just be weird little backs and forths, you know. Trying to get the lines right and all that. Let that dry for a bit. The thing I wanted to ramble about was 1960s television. You know, before about the mid-60s, everything was Westerns. Dozens and dozens of them, it felt like. It's just about every show was some sort of Western themed thing. But then I'm not sure, you know, this is sort of a little chicken and egg thing. I'm not sure which provoked which. I think it was the James Bond movies. When the first one came out, what, in like 63 or something? I think it was 63. I don't remember. I remember Goldfinger came out, but I think that was like the second one. So it was early 60s. Hey. I am doing well. Thank you for the follow, and thank you for the first time chat. Since you're a first time chatter and a new follower, I'll explain what's going on here. This is Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons, and the intent of this was to paint minifigs, like these little imps, okay, or gigantic demons, or ostentatious knights, okay, minifigs that would appear on our Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I'm sure we're going to run into this guy. There's no way, having painted this guy looking like this, that they are not going to show up. There's no way they're not going to show up on our stream somehow for some reason. I don't know why. Probably going to be very arrogant, probably going to be arrogant in a way that's incompetent. I mean, it just gives that appearance, right? Anyway, what you'll get is a lot of rambling on because, filling the time. The, in kind of an amusing way is that the Dice and Dungeons is a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, and so this stream started as painting the dungeon tiles and the minifigs that are used in our stream. And they're really cool dungeon tiles that I'll probably show later on, because I always, at least once during the stream, do a demo of the dungeon tiles that we produce for our stream, and who knows, maybe for you too in the future. But the reality is that sometimes I don't have dungeon tiles or minifigs to paint, which has been true on Friday and Monday. Last Friday and this Monday as well. And so one Wednesday, when I didn't have anything else to paint, I was told, well, start working on some of those models that you bought when you first retired that you've never worked on. And this submarine is a mid-1960s, early 1960s vintage model kit. There's actually 3 of them. I bought 3 in order to get enough parts for 1. And that has turned out to be a necessity. It really has. I've used parts from all 3, including this one. This one, the parts are not well done. Okay, so like this particular part, on 2 of the 3 models, the injection molding, the injection of the plastic didn't fill the mold, and like the whole center of this set of lockers is a divot. So fortunately I was able to find one of the 3 that wasn't too bad. Okay, I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't too bad. So I've been working on this submarine, and I've been doing like excruciating detail for me that I never did when I built this first as a kid. Like this is this reactor core cutaway. The painting instructions say paint it red and maybe put a little orange or something to make it look like it's glowing. But so I decided, well, no, let's not do that. Let's paint the lead shielding on either side of the reactor core. Let's paint the in and out pipes different colors. Let's do the reactor core silver with a wash on it, and then an additional dry brush on top of that to make it look like it's glowing, and then the outside of it paint it black just for contrast. or to show, the interior of the reactor. So, yeah. And, so this is taking forever. The reason I'm doing this on a Monday and not just Submarine Wednesday is that I didn't have any minifigs or dungeon tiles to paint, so I'm continuing to plug away at this submarine. I think during the stream today I'm going to be finishing these parts. These are all parts of the reactor room. And the bulkhead that goes beyond that back into the machinery area. I think I'll be finishing those, and instead of ending early, I'm going to be fishing through. You're going to watch me dig through a box of parts, trying to find the parts for the last 2 compartments. There's a couple of decks and a whole lot of weird little machinery bits and pipes and stuff. And I'll probably be doing that. So I need to do some neutral gray touch-up on here where I got the silver paint on it. This side looks good, this side doesn't. But I think I'm going to paint the black around the outside first, in case I have to come back and do touch-up in the other direction. Okay. So yeah, I think, painting minis is a lot of fun. I've had, sometimes they're a real pain to do because of the little detail, but what I discovered was that the detail on the submarine, like the little hatches and the tiny little window in the hatchway and the tips of the fire extinguishers, that the detail on the submarine is actually worse than the detail on some of the minifigs. It makes highlighting like the little rivets and handle and stuff and belt buckles. Sometimes the stuff on the submarine makes that look simple. Anyway, so I'm working on this submarine today because the minifigs aren't done, but there are several dozen, I think they're prairie dogs, gophers, something like that. It's almost like a maxi mini. That's a really tall mini. There was one that Nikki, one of the members of Dyson Dungeons, did. It's not quite that tall, but it's gigantic. She did an amazing job on it, I think. She's a real artist. I mean, really a serious artist. And is able to do this kind of shading, like, stuff's going to drip down on this, so it's going to be a lot darker on the bottom than the top, so let's shade it that way. I'm not that good. But apparently, I'm good enough to be able to paint a submarine. So I'm going to do the black on this. And then I think I'll do the white base coat on the heat exchanger, at least the first go of that. Whites, reds, yellows, and oranges just cover very poorly. And so, that's why I'm ending up putting 3 coats of red on these things, just because they just don't cover that well. I'm going to put my head magnifier on for this because I really need to see what I'm doing. As I will for much of the rest of this. This has really been a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in that it lets me see what I'm doing. It's a curse in that I can see how poorly it went. Anyway, let's get some black paint out and start applying it. On Wednesday, I'll be doing submarine stuff on Wednesday because that's when I'm supposed to do it. It's Submarine Wednesday. Stick in here to get black paint down here, just between the pipes. Okay, that was a good reason to not paint it gray yet, or do the gray touch-up. When I make a mess of something, it's almost always like bringing the brush up to a surface. Yeah, so that whole thing needs to be touched up. It's almost always bringing the brush up to a surface or pulling it away. It just is a mess everywhere. And there wasn't any paint there, but now there is. So I'm going to have to do some silver touch-up. There's a lot of back and forth here. Mainly because of my lack of skill. So my lack of painting skill and slightly, but not horribly, unsteady hand gives rise to multiple opportunities for improvement after the initial painting. But I think this is called relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons because you're not having to paint. Is this on camera? Oh. You're going to use it in your D&D campaign? What is it? What is it that it's so large? Every once in a while I look up at the chat screen. I do have trouble reading it because my eyes don't like to focus at all, really. Paint on the brush. A large print chat screen, but when I get my eyes to focus close up like this, they don't refocus at a distance very quickly. So you'll have to excuse me if I look up and I'm kind of squinting, or if I can't see what I'm reading and I grab a pair of glasses so that I can look at it. It's all part of the not so graceful aging process. Yeah, I very, very carefully moved my brush. It's just right down. I was getting a pretty good line. It was a pretty good line, and then it wasn't. That might take like 3 more coats of red paint just to fix that, because it doesn't cover very well. Well, it's not perfect. Mostly not too bad. But the black does give a nice contrast to the gray. And I thought I had a nice line there, but I didn't. So I got a lot of gray touch-up to do. It does give a lot of nice contrast, at least, which was the thing I was going for the reactor core. I don't think the authentic, real reactor core is black like this, but well, yeah, uneven lines. So yeah, this is going to take a while to clean this up. This side's pretty good. This side's not. The top and the bottom are a mess. These gray edges. This line's not too bad, but there's I got black all over it. This side I didn't, but it's bad. So yeah. The humongous wizard. Is it like a humanoid that's just gigantic? Or it's just humongous? So is it going to carry the other minis around? Oh, it's a lizard. Cool. A gigantic, humongous lizard wizard. Lizard wizard. Oh, a humongous wizard. Oh, sorry. It wasn't a humongous wizard. It was a humongous lizard. It could have been a lizard wizard. You know, that would be fun to say. Your party members could make fun of that. Oh, it's a wizard lizard or a lizard wizard. And then the lizard wizard wouldn't find it humorous and would, you know, do some sort of nasty wizard thing to them. Did I get black paint on that? I do not understand how that happened. I absolutely do not understand how that happened. Okay. So that went in a fairly mediocre way. Now there's white. I've only used this white really pretty sparingly before, like tiny dots for the dials, the faces of dials. Sometimes I used it on the skull pile. Okay, there's some of the white in there, but I haven't used it on anything a flat surface like this before, so I'm not sure. I'm hoping it doesn't look all scuzzy. Find out. We'll find out. Now this is going to be like a 3-layer process. I'm painting a white base coat and then doing a blue dry brush on it, and then some more white to make it look, I hope, make it look like superheated steaming water. Oh, it's gonna work. Find out. This is going to be kind of a messy thing. I need to use a little brush in order to get these lines, right? Get the paint between there and not get it too much on places I don't want it. But that leads to it being unevenly applied. With multiple coats. Multiple coats lead to the opportunity for yet more mess. It's just going to get too much to the edge. I'll try to get the edge clean later, because I want the red to show just a little bit like that on the edge to give the impression that that's the cutaway of the containment vessel. Not, well, the containment vessel is technically the thing only on the reactor, but the high pressure vessel. So I'll be putting a couple of coats on here before I come back with the red, and hopefully can get those lines even. Get the paint way over the side. So after I'm done kind of trying to make not too terribly much of a mess of this, okay, just enough of a mess in that, you know, the level of messiness is the unavoidable level of messiness minimized to well, I can do the touch-up fairly easily. Hoping for... That line actually came out okay. Let's see, so... But because it doesn't cover that well, you can see how uneven it is while I'm using this tiny little brush to keep the paint confined to the places I want it. So, you know, it'll take, this is going to take many coats before it's uniform enough for the next stages. But I guess that's okay. I mean, several thin coats generally makes it look eventually better. It dries quickly enough so that I can move from like one color to the next as I do touching up and stuff. What I wanted to ramble about, I haven't started my ramble yet, is that in the 1960s, and there started to be another kind of TV series that replaced the way too ubiquitous pixel art. Okay. That's pretty cool. You want to talk a little bit more about what you're doing? I'm going to have to put my other glasses on in order to read this screen. Trying to look through these head magnifiers just isn't working. Underdark maps. Okay. Okay, that's cool. I think, I don't know if it's possible. I'm not sure how that monitor is attached, but I think that if my large screen monitor came closer, and maybe just like 6 inches or so, maybe I'd be able to read it better. Well, no, for sure, but it's a thought. Okay, I need to keep going back and forth with these colors. I'm going to do the neutral gray next. That one's... The neutral gray is supposedly the lead shielding on either side of the reactor core here. I put the first coat on and it looked okay, but then it just got messed up as I painted the other colors. I painted the silver and managed to, on one side, it looks really good. On the other side, it's just awful. Yeah. At this rate, I'm never going to get around to my ramble about what happened to television in the 1960s. I started to say maybe it was a chicken and egg issue, because it kind of is. But I think what happened is I think the James Bond films came out in the first one came out in like the early 60s. I am not a James Bond fanatic. We had a friend in school and college who was a James Bond fanatic. He just had the soundtracks of all of the movies. And one night I remember we were there just visiting like you do with friends. And he gave us an extended exposition of the evolution of the James Bond themes, starting with the very first movie and then going on through all of the rest of them, carefully explaining what was happening to the theme music of the James Bond movies. I mean, it was okay. He was a good friend, and it was actually kind of interesting. But at that point, I think I had seen none of the James Bond movies. I don't know why not. I think, it was one of those things where everyone on Earth had seen the movies and was talking about them. And for some reason, I hadn't. So, yet one more example of how I was out of touch with popular culture at the time. I need to little black touch up right there. There's just a little spot where that line is uneven. One of those spots that's invisible unless one is wearing these head magnifiers. And that wasn't too bad. Now I need to get the silver paint out again and do some very, very careful touching up. But first, I need to let the gray paint dry because I don't want it to run. What I should do, I'm going to do this, is otherwise I'll forget about it. Our dog's is having a really good time. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there's a good deal of barking going on here. Let's see, I think some of this black paint, the black paint is still okay. And maybe that's good enough. Touching up always comes down to little dots. Well, this is starting to come along. I've got a lot of touch up with the red. I managed to get black all over spots where I don't want it. The edges aren't very good, that kind of thing. So this is one of those things where the red paint is going to come out and I'll do some touching up on this and then maybe a third coat. Then I might put it away and move on to another piece back and forth. The black paint is dry enough that I can probably do that. I can put... I'm going to work on everything except the heat exchanger. Okay? I know that I'm going to have to come back with the red paint on the heat exchanger again later, but I need to get the white done first, because then I'll need to come back and paint red along the edges and stuff, and I've got at least one, maybe two coats of white that need to be done yet. So this red paint is just going to keep coming back and forth. So how do you use the maps? I'm not familiar with that. You're doing pixel art for maps. But, I have to express my ignorance here. Do they get printed out? Can you do this all like on a monitor? Okay. Every once in a while, I'm going to keep looking up at the screen that I can... can't read. Ah, okay. Pretty cool. So a lot of these minifigs that I work on actually end up in our stream. But the submarine will not, unless the DM gets really weirdly creative and decides that for some reason a 1960s vintage nuclear missile launching submarine fits into the world, which it won't. So the submarine has a life of its own. It's this other brush here. But most of what I paint, or Nicole has painted, ends up in our stream, which is pretty cool. I don't know, this third coat still isn't perfect, but there's no way I'm going to keep going back and forth and painting more and more red on these things. So however this ends up looking is how all this reactor stuff is going to end up looking. That part. Here's the cap. This is the first of like 3 coats on this part, because it couldn't get painted before because it was in the sticky tack, so I could paint the pipe, which will probably need another coat after this gets 3 coats. That's why I'm just like This is going to be like never-ending back and forth with red paint today until things look okay. I mean, as much as they're going to. It takes a minimum of 2 coats, and it's looking like 3 before things, don't look really bad. It was a lot easier in 1963 or 64, probably 64 when I built this, when I just got the red tester's enamels out and just like, bleh. However it ended up looking is how it ended up looking. Who cared? I mean, I cared, but not this much. Okay, I'm going to use very carefully putting it on the stick, trying to get this line. I'm using this larger brush just because. So putting the third and hopefully final coat on this thing. Okay, that looks all right. Let's see what I can do along the top here. I'm getting nowhere with this ramble that I started by asking myself, when did the first James Bond movie come out? Which I know was in the early 60s. That much I know for sure. So what happened after that was that, although there were still Westerns, because, 60s TV wouldn't be 60s TV without Westerns. Wow, this stuff dries fast. So there's still Westerns, but what happened next is that spy shows showed up. I mean, a lot of them, because TV back then, just like it is now, is highly derivative. There's something like original comes on back then they were on stations, because it was all broadcast TV. So something came on one of the stations. What were they? ABC, NBC, CBS. They're still around. I'm sure that they're not independent anymore. They all belong to something else. But something came on one of the stations, and it was somewhat successful, which is to say that people watched it. Oh yeah, there were whole rating agencies. That was interesting. That's a digression. I'm going to digress on that. So how did people know what people were watching back then? Because they couldn't monitor your everything like they do now, okay? Like the cable and streaming services all know exactly how many, even who, not just how many, because there's no anonymity in the data. They know how many and even who, where you are, what your demographics are, and everything about everything that they show. But back then, back in the day, they asked people to participate in a survey. This was a real thing. If you said yes, they would send you basically a journal. Okay? And you were supposed to write down in this journal everything you watched. How many people were watching it, whether they were adults or kids. And I think that went on for like a week. Like you kept a journal. Our family actually did this once. We thought it was kind of fun. Oh yeah, let's do this journal thing. Why not? So we kept this paper journal that in which we recorded everything we watched. Like a solid week. And there were this, thousands of people across the country who were doing this. And that's how they knew which shows were being watched and by what kind of audiences. Yeah. The TV spy service has, improved vastly since then, of course. But that was kind of weird and kind of fun in a way. Anyway, after that digression, I have to have digressions. That's it's a feature, not a bug. Is something comes up and you just, squirrel, go after it. So this is looking okay now. I got the lines around the edges of the reactor look adequate. Yeah, not too bad. I need to do some silver touching up on the pipes in here before I start doing the wash on it. But that is that. The stuff dries fast enough. Hello, Brogger. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, submarining yet again, or should I say still, because the stuff from the rosin printer that got printed over the weekend, I didn't find out about until today. So I didn't prime anything. But I expect that on Friday, because there'll be Submarine Wednesday. We had Submarine Week this week. I was going to do something on the little thing up there, like Shark Week. How they do Shark Week here in the States. I think it's one of the cable channels. It might even be the Weather Channel. Or it might just be a thing. I mean, Shark Week just might be a thing that's on multiple TV channels. Can you still call them channels? That's what we used to call them. Yeah, I was going to do something that said Shark Week and then cross out the shark, strike it through, and then put on Submarine instead, because that's how this has turned out to be. This is Submarine Week. But I couldn't find the strike through on the change the script thing. Or at least I probably could have, but I didn't take the time to find it. Okay, this will need a third coat. Now I need to somehow get this into the little... I painted down on the pipe. On Discovery Channel. Thank you. Well, thanks for dropping in and have a good dinner. I know that your schedule is immensely busy, so I really appreciate when you just stop in and say hi. Yeah, so anyway, I was going to do a thing that said Shark Week, but not really about sharks because of submarines. And then do a strike through and call it Submarine Week, that would have been I don't know. That would have been okay, I guess. It wouldn't have been not too dumb anyway, just slightly dumb. But I didn't do that. But we ended up with Submarine Week anyway. And ended up with a digression about... Okay, well, it was multiple digressions from the real story. So the real story was the James Bond movies came out, and all of a sudden spy stuff was really the rage. And so TV decided to pick up on that, and then we had this explosion of spy shows, just like we had explosion of Westerns. There weren't, I think if we actually counted them, if we actually counted how many there were, we'd find out that there were fewer spy shows than there were Westerns, but there were quite a lot. That all came out during a period of time. There was there was Secret Agent, also known as AKA Danger Man, which had this really cool theme song. Yeah. Had this really great guitar riff in the background that I will not try to. I'm tempted to replicate, but I'm not going to embarrass myself that much. But the lyrics are really cool. What was it? Johnny Rivers maybe did it. Secret Agent Man, giving you a number and taking away your name. Odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. That kind of cool stuff. That was pretty cool. Except when they sang it. When they sang it, it was a thing then to slur your words. Still is, right? Anyway, words got, oh my. That didn't get cleaned the last time I used it. So it all came out sounding like Secret Asian Man. And being, young, like almost preteens or just teens. Back then, I think we were like probably 11 or 12 or whatever. I used to laugh about Secret Asian Man because Patrick McGoohan, who played Danger Man or the Secret Agent, was not Asian. So we used to laugh about Secret Asian Man, but it was really Secret Agent Man, just not pronounced very well. Song. That was one of the best ones. Patrick McGoohan was really good. The one that was really most popular was Man from U.N.C.L.E. And it was an acronym. United Nations something or other Center for Law Enforcement. I don't know. It was really a lame acronym, if I recall, but there it was. And that was really popular. It was especially popular among the girls in my grade school, seventh, whatever grades they were, like sixth grade. Boys and girls didn't mix too terribly much at that age quite yet. It took another year or two before that really started raging. But I do remember serious conversations going on among some of the girls in the class about who was, you're in sixth grade in a Catholic school taught by nuns. You couldn't say no one said hotter. That wasn't a thing then. You didn't talk about people being hot or being sexy. You couldn't say that word. But, whatever was the safe equivalent that sixth grade girls in a nun-taught school could say, there was ongoing debates about which one, Ilya Kuryakin or Napoleon Solo. And I think Ilya Kuryakin always won that debate. It was, there was some dissent, but for the most part, Ilya was considered to be the most desirable to 12-year-old girls, 11 and 12-year-old girls. So that was the Man from U.N.C.L.E., which meant UN Center for Law Enforcement or something lame. And their adversary was named Thrush, which was also an acronym. And I have no memory at all about what Thrush stood for. I think what I can say safely is that it was neither the bird, there's birds named Thrush, nor the skin disease. Why they came up with Thrush, I don't know. Probably because the writers said, "Oh, we need to have an enemy organization." It became Thrush for a reason. Anyway, that was a big one. Yeah, Secret Agent and Man from U.N.C.L.E. And there was one, I Spy. Excuse me, I Spy was one of those breakthrough things where they were, I don't know why, a tennis player and their coach. That was their cover. Which, I don't know. I guess that was a thing at the time. I'm not sure why they came up with it. Probably because no one else came up with it and it wasn't copyrighted or something. So there was I Spy, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Secret Agent. You always had to have a comedy version of these, and the comedy version was Get Smart. That was kind of fun. That was a fun show. We used to enjoy watching that. Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible was one of those formulaic shows. There was always a master of disguise, where I think it was the character who was played, what was his name? Martin Landau, I think was the actor's name. He was the one, I think, that was almost always in disguise, who was played as one of the other characters in the show. Of course, you know, in the show itself, the actor who played the character played Martin Landau playing the character. But then there was the peel away rubber face. That was the trope. The other trope was the mission, should you choose whatever, this tape, it was a tape recorder, this tape will self-destruct in like 5 seconds. And then they had a tape recorder that emitted smoke. Back when there were tape recorders. But yeah, there was always a peel away face. It was the great reveal. So that was one of them. Oh, the Avengers. The Avengers was pretty cool. That had Diana Rigg in it. Just like, you know, like Ilya Kuryakin. I don't know who played him, but, you know, like Ilya Kuryakin was the heartthrob of all the girls then. Diana Rigg played Emma Peel in the Avengers, was the heartthrob of all the boys. Yeah, that was another one of the spy ones. There had to be more. There were a lot of these. Oh, geez. Okay. I was doing okay. But then the simple process of just putting this back in the stand turned into a moderate disaster. A modest disaster. Just paint stuck to my finger. How are we doing on time here? Okay. Getting close to break time, which is good. Like to take a break soon. I'm going to then now put the second of possibly 3 or more coats of this white base paint on the heat exchanger. I'd like to use a slightly larger brush. I don't know if I dare do that or not. Just in terms of, getting it onto the silver parts. But the slightly larger brush would give me slightly more even coverage. Try it, see how it goes. Yeah, so there were all these, I said, I think because the Bond films turned out to be so popular that the spy shows, just picked up on that and rode the wave. A little lump here. Dust. This white paint is definitely going to have to be viewed at a distance. And there's definitely a lack of steadiness going on there. Second coat is looking better than the first coat. It will very likely need to be a third coat. Yeah, the white paints are all either too thick or too thin, or this is the case, too thick and too thin both at the same time. Let's try again. Take a look at how it looks after the break. Probably we'll do another coat and then do the final coat of the red. Oh man. Seriously, I can't. I just did that. Just bashed it with the brush. Like I said, most of the uh-ohs that happen and relaxing painting have to do with bringing the brush up to or away from the paint surface. And that was one of them. So this is going to get multiply coated. After I get another coat of white on here, I'm going to dry brush some blue pearlescent on it. And I'm going to try to, where did my thing go? Try to make it look kind of like this. Okay. Just tiny little bits of blue, little bitty flecks almost. And then do the white back over it again so that it looks like it's steamy. That's the intent. Oh yeah, and at some point I need to do a second coat of the green paint on this bulkhead. Probably do that. Yeah, I'm going to do that after break. I'm not really focused enough at the moment to take that on right now. So let's do a recap and a preview here before break. Take these off. So the reactor core is actually coming along pretty well. We got the shell, the third coat. The third coat of red looks pretty good. I got the dividing line between the black and the red and the black and the gray and the silver really pretty nailed. And the next step, there's 3 more things to do, is take a tiniest little bit of orange speed paint for the bottom pipe that's coming in. That's the return. The water cools off. It goes out really very hot, so that's going to be yellow. It goes out yellow, so the top of this is going to be yellow. The bottom is orange because it comes back cooler, and you'll see that in the coils when I paint the top 2 yellow and the bottom 2 orange. And then these raised bits, which I believe represent the uranium, is going to be also yellow, very light wash of yellow. And then when that dries, a dry brush of white pearlescent will go over those to make them look like they're white hot, and to also do a little bit of a contrast between the orange coming up and the yellow. And I thought, I was kind of torn on this, but I think what I'm actually going to do is try this, is that these pipes are orange and yellow, representing the cooler and the hotter of the superheated water, high pressure water. The center here is really part of the cutaway. The pipes are not there, but what I'm going to say is that that's the inside of the pipe. Okay, and I'm going to carry the orange up a little bit and the yellow down a little bit and kind of blend them in the middle. And try that. I think I'll do the yellow first and then run the orange up. Just, because otherwise the center will just be yellow. Okay, the same as the top. But I want the orange to come up and blend into a little bit to show that the water is getting heated up before it gets sent out. There's this little bit of a pipe up here. I am not sure what to do with that. I might just leave that silver. It connects to this thing here. I think it's like a pressure relief valve. I'm not really sure. Anyway, that's the plan, is to do the yellow speed paint wash on this, and then a little bit of orange up to that. And then after that dries, the very, very lightest, very carefully applied white pearlescent paint on just these raised areas on either side to make it look like it's white. And then the reactor core will be really amazing. Yeah, it'll look really good. What's going to happen with this is the heat exchanger. This is the inlet and the outlet from and to the reactor core, with the high pressure superheated radioactive water goes into a heat exchanger where it rotates around and heats the okay. Right, there's a spot there that definitely needs white paint. The heat exchanger where the water doesn't mix, so that the radioactive water doesn't mix with the water that goes to the machine room, this is going to come in yellow and then go out orange to represent the water, the high pressure water cooling off as the heat exchanged. And then I'm going to try to make this look like steamy water. I'm going to try to make it look like that. I don't know if I will succeed. I'm just doing tiny little bits of weird little touch up here. In some spots that I see are flawed that I might forget about or miss later. So this provides many opportunities for things to go wrong. Let's see how it goes. I think I'm going to try to get the water part done first. If worst comes to worst, then I can like repaint the silver bits. But that needs another coat of white on it before I start messing with the blue. So after break, just a whole lot of little bits of things to do. I'm not sure what order I'm going to do them in. I'm kind of tempted to try to finish the reactor core, even though it's kind of out of sequence with some of these other things. But I think first I'm going to paint the second coat of green on the bulkhead, because I'm just constantly forgetting about it. Right? And then the very bottom here on both sides needs to be painted dark gray. And I should be able to do that after the green is done. Otherwise, I'm going to forget to do that too. So that's the kind of stuff I'm going to be doing. Reactor core, the heat exchanger, the green. Hopefully it will go okay. And once those parts are done and they look amazing, and there's still time left, I don't know if there will be or not. If there's still time left, I'll start fishing the pieces out for the machinery room. And then if there's time left, I'll even start sanding and filing them. Yeah, anyway, it's break time. I will be back in like 30 to 35 minutes, about 12:30 Eastern Standard US time. So, thanks for everybody who's joined in. Thank you so much. Please come back after break, because more interesting stuff will happen along with the possibility of disasters. And you don't want to miss those. See you after break. Actually came back from break. Thank you for the new follow. Yeah, I came back from break. Pretty exciting. You never know. You know, get distracted by something like actually eating lunch. That was the thing that I did. It took a little longer than I expected. Okay, so I'm going to put a third coat of white on this heat exchanger, because that needs to dry before I can put the blue on. And while the white is drying, I'm going to put the second coat of green on the bulkhead. And then do the blue. And then do the yellow and orange speed paint washes. Now, no, I haven't put a third coat of red on this one yet. After I do the blue, I'll let that dry, and then do a little white, and then do the red, and then do the speed washes. guess I'm going to have to do it in that order. Just, that's how it's going to have to be in order to get it done. So off we go to relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons. It's all taking a very long time. So this actually looks really nice. They got the lines really pretty well done. The red came out well. I hope I don't mess it up at the last stages. Those, just the last bits of the special highlighting and stuff that are going to happen. It is yet to be seen. So during break, I guess there's either good news or bad news. I'm not sure. Just the news, and the news, the neutrally presented news, which is either... okay, sorry, I'm going to have to be off camera for just a bit. I might have to squeeze out more paint, but I need clean wash water. This is just all... Sorry, I should have done this during break, but I didn't. So the news is that the gophers or groundhogs or prairie dogs or whatever they were that were done on the rosin printer over the weekend are not for Dyson Dungeons. They are going to be exported to a friend of the DM. They're not even going to be primed. They're just going away, and so they're not for me to paint. Which means that unless something else is done, there's nothing cooking there. Which means that it looks like submarining is like going to go on indefinitely. So I hope people are okay with that, because no, there's just no choice. Well, the alternative is to suspend relaxing painting until something else is available, or to continue just with submarining. So Submarine Wednesday, which has turned into Submarine Week, may be turning into Submarine Month. There's an ever-growing likelihood that that the month of December is going to be Submarine Month. Which is okay, because then it increases the possibility. I'm not going to say probability. I'm not going to go that far. It increases the possibility of the submarine actually being completed sometime. And I'm not even going to say like in the near future or soon or anything like that. I'm just going to say it increases the possibility of the submarine being completed. Okay, that needs to rest. And then I'm going to put little bits of swirls. Where did I? Yeah. So this is the base white. And I'm going to put little bits of swirls of pearlescent, tiny little bits of swirls of blue pearlescent paint on it. I'm going to try to keep it very, very minimalist like that, like super dry brush kind of. just to make it look a little bit watery. Okay. Yeah, it's just, well, I hope that levels a little bit. So this green, just, I'd really like to use this big brush on it to not have brush marks, but I can't control the paint well enough with that. So I guess I'm going to use I'll just use the brush I was using. I was looking for something more intermediate. This one. I'm going to try to use this one to second coat the green. Without getting it onto things I don't want to be green. And this needs to be done on both sides. And the hope is that that this will be not quite so scabby with a second coat on it. Anyway, this stuff is coming along slowly. Every time I do something with paint, put some paint on somewhere, it gets closer to being finished. And so far, it hasn't gone bad. So this bulkhead is getting very close to the end of the submarine here. This bulkhead goes between two compartments of machinery. And I'm thinking that probably yet today, there might be time left in the stream to start pulling out the pieces for the 4 decks. 2 compartments with 2 decks each. So 4 decks of machinery. For the most part, the painting of those is going to be pretty straightforward. The bulkheads are green, the decks are what's called cork brown, which is a little darker brown than the ones I've been using so far. And the machinery is all this color here, this bone white. The only downside is that everything requires at least 2, sometimes 3 coats of this bone white in order to be fully covered. Even this part, which has had 2 coats on it, is a little bit uneven, and I might do some touch-up on it to make it look a little more evenly colored. So this is not, I just need to be a little bit cautious, okay? I want to get the paint down pretty evenly. Just trying to get it coated and covered. And the main thing is to be careful not to get it onto the other colors. Like I don't want it to get onto the fire extinguishers or the gray door. So the upside of using this larger brush is, fewer brush marks. The downside is the increased risk of getting it onto other surfaces. This green paint is pretty decent. Sometimes when it goes on, it looks really uneven. Okay? There'll be high spots, and mainly they're things that aren't drying at the same speed. I found that it tends to level pretty well. So when it looks really, even if it looks bad after it's first applied, usually, and I'm hoping that usually continues in this case, levels nicely and covers pretty well. Very much not wanting to do a third coat on this, so I'll just see how that goes. Pretty much careless there. Very close to being a problem. I did promise the possibility of a disaster after break. That does happen on Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons, is that sometimes after break, especially as we're closing in on 2 o'clock, once we get past about 1:30 for sure, start losing focus for sure, almost always, and it just increases the opportunity for some sort of paint-related disaster. That's why I try to do these kinds of things that requires, some sense of focus. I better make sure I got, I didn't. The underside of this deck, this protuberance, which is the support for the deck above it, needed to make sure that was painted. Okay, well, that's awkward. Being not ambidextrous, I'm holding it in an awkward position here to get the last bits. Guess I'll just do it this way. So this underneath part gets painted dark gray because it's a ballast tank. And so after the green dries, what I need to do is there's a deck that goes across there, so I need to get one to find out how far up the gray goes. In the past, I've been painting the gray not high enough. Here, it's not painted because another deck goes across there. So this is looking okay. I mean, where it's drying, I'm saying that this looks like this a little bit here, where the decks kind of come together. Oh yeah, right there. That was a mistake. There was a spot there that right there on the edge that would show. The deck. So a good thing I looked at it in that direction, even though a deck goes above it. Just that little bit there. But I think this is going to look okay once it dries. So that bulkhead will be considered to be completed. What's this white paint doing? Is it drying? It's still not completely dry yet. There must be a little flaw in the surface of that, where the pipe is. I think I can paint the red on this now. I need to get the edges red, you know, and the cutoff where the pipe is, just a couple of spots that require a very straight line. I think I'm going to do that now while I'm waiting for the white to fully dry. And that'll be the last bit of paint on this. I'll have to check to see if that's going to show or not on the back. Use this for most of it. I think I'm going to use a very, very small brush for attempting to get these lines even. Okay. See how that goes. And then I need to check this to see that the coverage isn't bad. I'm going to put another coat on the pipe part though. Give this a really good stir. A little bit further onto the white. But I don't know, you know, just go a little too far and then it's just a little too far. And that's always the don't go a little too far. Oh no. Okay, I messed up the bristles on this brush just by bumping it onto something. I do not need messed up bristles. these on. There's this tiny spot, just the tiniest little spot of white that needs to be red. Big enough to be visible to the naked eye, but the naked eye. To attempt to repair this brush. This is a very important brush. It's my fine detail brush, and it got really mangled here. Bristles are coming back. So, you know, this isn't perfect, but it's going to do. Let's brush out. Another coat on the pipe here. This is the all-important, powers everything in the entire submarine pipe. Now, very carefully, I'm going to coat of paint on this thing. It's red paint, just yellows and whites. Do not cover that well. Definitely not compared to the well-behaving paints like the grays. a little too far. Right, just trying to get the line right, and that's a very obvious spot, so I'll have to do a little tiny bit of white touch-up and hope that the white paint will cover the red adequately. I just got really screwed up. I was trying to get this line to look like the other side, and the brush just keeps bumping into the pipes, and yeah, did not do what I wanted to at all. So you're going to have to watch me mess around with white paint, perhaps many multiple coats on tiny little dots, and to fix that line. That was things are going okay, and then the brush bumped. And then the brush bumped. As I said, a lot of the oopses in this whole model happen because of approaching or departing the painting area. Continued to hold true there. Okay, on this side pretty much. This side got ragged, so I'll have to do some more white touching up before I do the blue. This red will have to dry. I don't want to have pink all over the place, right? So close, and yet not. Okay, well, it's not huge spots. They're little spots, but they're spots that are pretty visibly not right. And it's the stupid white paint that doesn't cover very well. That's at issue, so there we are. There's other little spots. There's some spots with the silver that need some touching. I think I'll go ahead and try to do that because there isn't any wet paint near them. So given that that has to dry and then be painted white some more, I know I'm going to be using the speed paint as a wash on that as well as the reactor core, but things are just going to have to wait for paint to dry. But while I'm waiting, I'm going to start working on this. But first, minium touching. Okay, well, this is a flaw in the plastic. Put these 2-time magnifiers on, and then all of a sudden everything, I mean, invisible flaws become visible. Bakewell. Let's find out how this goes. I'm trying to use this as almost a dry brush wash. Some silver bits. Right up here. Done. I need the orange. Orange goes on the pipe on the bottom. And then blends. And it blends up. This is the return water. Coming back cooler. Blends up. Let's enter here. what's supposed to be happening here, and it kind of is that the water comes in cooler on the bottom and heats up as it goes to the top. And these parts, I'm not going to, I got orange all over this brush. So yeah, I'm using it as a pointer. That was smart. So these parts on the side here are the part of the reactor core, and those are going to get tiny bit of dry brushing pearlescent white so that they're glowing, you know, glowing. Put this aside, this back. The orange came out okay, I think. Yeah. Now I need to fix the white on this. I'd see if the red paint is dry enough. Get the white out again. We see if I can fix these things. Too bad. Let's look on this one. I'm gonna try to keep. Good grief! See what I mean? That was moving the brush away. Let's just bang it right into the silver paint. Okay, that's not too bad. This is now, let's leave this alone, but I need to fix that tiny touch of silver because I bumped it with the brush. Ta-da, what a thing to do. And those lines are now, they're good. They're adequate. I'm going to say we got adequacy going here. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be impatient and touch it with this silver paint, perhaps before it is completely dry. I may or may not pay for that. No, it's okay. There. So that's ready. Now for very, very, very subtle blue dry brushing. Things where it's way better to put less paint on than more, because it's always possible to put more on, but it's very hard to take paint away. I have to give this an alcohol bath. The alcohol bath is starting to look pretty pigmented, so that might just need to be dumped soon and refreshed. Usually water cleans these up pretty well, but sometimes the brush holds a lot of paint or it dries a little bit, or there's something that causes an issue. And it needs an alcohol bath. Put the red away so I don't accidentally grab it. Okay. I'm going to let paint dry here for a bit. Okay, I want the white to be fairly dry before I start messing with the blue. I want dry before I start messing with the white. I'm moving some things out of the way, maybe in a potentially dangerous way, I'm not sure, because I'm going to take this opportunity while paint is drying to show you dungeon tiles. As I do that on every stream. It's part of the thing to do on every stream. What will I use for the dry brushing? It's either going to be this or this for the blue. Definitely this for the white. Take these off. Set them aside. I should have brought something down to drink. Hydrate, right? Do the hydration bit, but I didn't. So as part of the how not to do things, part of this show, this stream, I'm keeping my workbench really cluttered. By not putting things away, by having the workspace gradually become smaller and smaller, because I didn't put things away. It's like just amazing. There's this tea added pin, okay? On Friday, I kept looking for that. Where did it go? How come I can't find it? Well, because I put it in a place that was safe. Okay, so Dyson Dungeons does Dungeons and Dragons. That is streamed 3 times a month, usually at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. It's on Twitch with a live chat. Is the music playing? I didn't look. Yes, it is. That's unusual. And to make the stream look really good, we have, when we have combats and things, they occur in dungeons, and we do custom printed and painted dungeon tiles to make that happen. And these are some examples that you have seen times before. Hi, Who? Yes, this is Submarine Week going on Submarine Month. Okay, there isn't anything else to paint, so on Friday I did Sub Friday, and I said, well, this might turn into Sub Week, and it did. So today is now Sub Mon. More on Sub Wednesday will be on Wednesday, of course. And since there's nothing else printed, December might just become Submarine Month. But I am taking the time, well, to flip you off. I'll do that first. Let me do the big one. I'm going to do the sear. I'll do the sear flip. Whoa, that went fine. Four, 5, 6. Sear came up 4-2, so it wins. So yeah, so we're just doing submarine, which means that it moves a submarine along more quickly. And so it might actually be finished. I would say it might be finished by April Fool's Day. Yeah. On April Fool's Day, I'll say it is finished, and it's not. But it might come close to that if I do Submarine Month, if I just keep this going during the rest of December. Because there's nothing that really slows it down other than my slowness in terms of painting. But it's getting down to the machinery areas, and I'm almost done. I'm getting really close to being finished with the reactor room things. So you didn't see this. This is coming along really nicely. This is the cutaway reactor. Okay. And this is the outflow pipe on top and the inflow on the bottom. And it goes through a heat exchanger, so it goes out yellow and comes back orange to represent the the cooling. And then these little blocks on either side are the fissioning uranium. I'm going to be dry brushing those with a pearlescent white to show that they're glowing almost white hot. And then this is the heat exchanger. The hot water flows in through the top, so these are going to be yellow, just like this. And the bottom two will be orange like that to represent the cooling of the water as the water, jeez, I really need to pull the magnets out of the bottoms of these. They're dangerous. To represent the boiling, steaming water, I'm going to put some blue on here and then white again. To make it look like superheated steam is happening, sort of. At least that's the idea. So yeah, all sorts of submarining stuff. So I should be able to make steady progress, even if it's not in exactly the order in which the instructions say. At least getting the parts identified and primed and painted, and then the assembly can come a little later. Anyway, yeah. When Dice and Dungeons does their D&D campaign, sometimes we go into dungeons or taverns or warehouses or sewers. And in order to show that on stream, it's really cool. We put our minifigs, which are out in the studio, into these dungeons. And these are printed on the PLA printers behind us. And then they're primed and then base coated and then detailed, and then these haven't been yet, but a gray wash goes on them to make it look like it's more worn. And as I keep pointing out, underneath these little things on the bottom, these are all one piece except for this base, are ball magnets, and so they stick to each other and they're magnetized, but they don't need to go on a metallic surface. They just can be separated and reconfigured magically like that. So that's pretty cool. And these are my favorites. We have stone, and we have wood, and we have cut stone with sigils painted onto them. The wood is a multi-step process. They're printed, then they're primed, then they're base-coated brown, and then the brown is washed with smoky ink wash, which makes it look like dark, deep, rich wood with grain patterns. And then the stucco is painted on both sides. And the both sides is important because we now have street tiles, and someday we'll have a street fight. And then you not only can be in the building, okay, but you can be outside the building. You can be outside the building on the street out here. And the dungeon tiles are finished on both sides so that the outside of the building looks just as amazing as the inside of the building. And, you go through a door because they're operated pin hinge doors like that. So when we do our stream, we do it in the inside of really amazing sets like this. But unfortunately for me, maybe, there aren't any to paint right now, and so I'm doing submarine. So submarine week is what's happening here. I think this is dry. I'm going to let it go a little bit longer just to be sure. And I'm going to now get risky. I'm going to do risky stuff. I'm getting out the blue wash. I'm using a pearlescent paint because it's steamy water. So it's kind of, has a little bit of gloss to it. And I'm going to try to get the tiniest little bits of hint of roiling, steaming water here on that white surface. And I practiced a little bit. I practiced a little bit here. I practiced there and it wasn't good, and there and it was too much, and there was hardly any blue, and that's the best. So I'm going to try to do that. And I'm hoping it looks all right. We'll find out. I'm going to use this brush because I want it to, just little dots. So I'm going to try this, see how it works. Yep. So what's the worst that can happen is that it's awful. And I don't know. I'm not sure I can fix it. I might have to, if this doesn't go well, I might have to just like start over with parts from another submarine, one of the other kits. Anything I want is a little darker at the bottom and a little lighter at the top, because as the steam forms, you know, I think that's actually coming along okay. I have to, if it does, I'm just going to have to express surprise. It's like some red that needs to be touched up there somehow. I have to put any white on this again. I think it's giving the right impression. All this is a success. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's okay. I have a little bit more down there, but I don't want to put any more on the brush. I'm just going to leave that as it is. So what do you think? Can I get it on camera? Does that look like kind of roiling, steaming kind of water? I think it kind of looks okay. At least as an impression, it gives that impression, you know, which is the important part. Now I need to do a little bit of red touch up on it. I'm going to have to put glasses back on for that. And I'm going to have to put those glasses on anyway for the reactor core. Okay, I'm going to do the reactor core and then the red touch up on this, and then those will be done. And I'll have, oh my, not really much time left. I might do some rooting around for some parts. We'll see. Anyway, this will see how this goes. Oh yeah, and I need to do the yellow and the orange. This is going to use up most of the time. I'm actually going to do the yellow and orange first. The intake and exit pipes. Okay, so the purpose of this is the hot water comes in at the top. I'm not going to mess around with my So this is the hot water, the yellow, and the cooler water is the orange. So as it comes in hot like this. Can't get the paint right in that little spot. It's not good. I'm going to have to try to cover that up with white. Can't believe that. Just a little slip of the brush, the tiniest little bit. Anyway, it comes in hot like that and then cools off to this orange color for the exit pipes. I should use the orange for the orange. Orange. There. Yeah, so that's the impression it's supposed to give, is that the water comes in quite hot and then cools off. You've got some spots that need to be painted white. Yeah, it'll be a little bit of a challenge. Just dry as much as I can before doing that. Or with the white pearlescent. It's another one of those, hardly any paint on the brush, because you can always put more on later. just to give it the slightest little white sheen. And the slightest little white sheen is supposed to make it look like it's glowing super white hot, right? Okay, that's the reactor core. Is at the top, the cooler water comes up through the bottom and heats up, and then these glowing white hot pieces of uranium, there they are. I would say this is really good. I did a good job with that. Yay me. Little bits, tiny bits of red and white touch up that need to be done on this. So I'm going to do the red first. Just some spots, tiny little spots that got not red on them. It's now in the I'd better leave it alone territory. And that's now in the territory. Just learn to leave it. That's sometimes a hard lesson, is learning to leave it. Make sure this is very clean before I put white paint on it. Like I said, I don't need pink. There's something else. You know, I might be ending the stream here, just like finishing up and then doing a recap and projection. There's the white paint. Yet again, you can see how many little spots of white paint I have used to make tiny dots. Make tiny dots of white paint. Do one more tiny dot of white paint. There's not much, but there's just this flaw up here with a yellow she got there. I need to do this with a little bit of caution, because sometimes the wash will Neat. Too bad. This yellow's still good. Yeah, well, there's a flaw in the pipe. Oh, well. So there's the heat exchanger. There we go. With the hot water coming in and the cooler water going out and the frothing, boiling, bubbling, watery, liquidy kind of look in between. And it's not perfect, but I'd say it's not bad. It looks a way lot better than if I just painted the whole thing red with a couple of orange highlights. I do like, though, how the reactor core came out. I'm pretty happy with that. But at some point, well enough alone is well enough alone. There we go. So, take these off. Call it good. I mean, what I technically should do... No, I mean, you really can't see it. Can't see it without, like, the 2x and the extra lights. So, need to check this. Yeah, it covers it, okay. I was concerned that some of the unpainted area would show, but it looks okay. Touch it with your fingers. Oh. All right, so what has been accomplished is that the pieces for the reactor and the heat exchanger, let me put them on camera here, are done. Granted, you can see that one, and this one's upside down, and you kind of can't. This bulkhead is finished. And I did say that maybe I would put another coat. I'm going to do that since I've got, what, like 10 minutes left? This beige paint it levels really nicely. Okay, I have to say that. Despite the fact that when I first put it on, it shows brush marks pretty badly. It levels when it dries. Oh, geez. Okay, I just like squeezed half a bottle out when I needed maybe a tiniest little drop, right? But it does not cover well. So it usually needs 2, sometimes 3 coats, which will be definitely a thing. What in the hell? Sorry for that, but okay. Well, I've got a thing I need to do here. I was painting something white. I got white paint streak right across the top of this thing that was already finished. Sorry, that's just really beyond belief annoying. I mean, way beyond belief annoying. I have to do 2 color touch-up with this thing that had been finished and was looking good. Seriously, it looks like I brushed a finger right across it. Well, you know, what was I going to do the last 10 minutes other than all sorts of additional weird little touching up, right? Sorry, that was just, wow. That was just a shocking annoyance. What? Do your stuff. The side isn't going to show what the top does, so. Or if it's just the color of the wet paint. Okay. Holy cow. Definitely need new bottle of this if I'm going to keep using it, though. Good thing I looked at it. It was like, oh, this is done. I'm just going to do a tiny little touch-up on the piece of machinery that needed a tiny dot of paint, and I squeezed out half a bottle and wasted it. Yeah, so this paint sometimes needs many coats, but it does dry and level well. Okay. Wow. That was weird. I mean, just looking at it and all of a sudden seeing that I don't even have it on my fingers. I must have, when I was putting the brush away or something, I must have just brushed across the top of the locker. So these things now are done. Hopefully they will stay done and not become undone by some sort of like just redoing things that got messed up by accident because I am accident prone. But yeah, the reactor parts are done. This bulkhead is done. Pretty much I'm ready. If I can get those missile tubes done, if I can get those missile tubes painted yellow, I am pretty much ready to install both the missile room and the reactor room. And then everything after that is the machinery stuff. So maybe I'll get brave tomorrow. Probably not today yet, but maybe tomorrow, and set up the equipment, the cardboard and the white and the light and white paper background and the little balsa wood sticks and everything else I need to get those missile tubes done. And it's going to be really fiddly putting the missile tubes in, like I keep warning. They need to be one at a time, custom fit, to slide through the holes in the mid-deck and to sit reliably in the lower deck. You know, if I can get them into and between those decks, then all of that should be able to be hopefully without breaking anything or too much force, pushed into the hull of the submarine. And then the surrounding parts for the reactor room were already painted. Those were done as part of the missile room. And then these two decks that are in here, these two decks, appropriately painted, and all of these parts get put into the submarine. So maybe if I can get myself to getting those missile tubes done, Wednesday will be a very slow and tedious, but hopefully successful assembly day. But thank you all for joining Relaxing Painting with Dice and Dungeons. I did accomplish some things. I got the reactor core looking pretty nice. I think it looks pretty nice. Maybe I need a little more white on the... No, I'm not going to do that. I'm thinking a little more pearlescent white on the reactor core parts itself, but it really I'm not going to mess with it. And then the heat exchanger. The heat exchanger actually came out looking okay. Yep. So these parts are done. I know that they sort of fit for the final assembly. Yeah, and that's Submarine Monday. Moving on to Submarine Wednesday and more submarine-y stuff. So thanks for joining in. Thanks for listening to a very short, kind of rambling discussion of how Westerns gave rise to spy TV shows. You know, I Spy, Secret Agent, Get Smart, The Avengers, Man from U.N.C.L.E. Yeah, all of those. There might have been a couple more. But we'll see you on Sub Wednesday. Thanks all. Take care.